Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with my ninth and final installment ranking the every Best Picture winner in the history of the Academy Awards from 1927 to 2021 here now. What movies won and how I saw them decade by decade. This has been a hell of a thing to go through. It's taken me about a month or so, I believe, a little more maybe. But yeah, it's been very, very fun. So, 12 movies in the last volume here. We'll be covering the end of the 1920s, which is counts 27, 28, and 29. The original ceremony for the 27, 28 year, of course. So yeah, let's get right into it. Got 12 movies to talk about. Why waste any more time? Number 12 is Cimarron from 1931, directed by Wesley Ruggles, starring Richard Ditz and Irene Dunne. This movie also won the Oscars for screenplay and art direction. This is about the story of Yancey Cavett, who is Cavett, who was a no-nonsense, gung-ho adventurer type newspaperman. And he has absolutely zero regard for his own or his family's well-being. And it's about him basically dragging his family into the wild west so they can explore it and report on it. And the film covers specifically the growth of this one town in Oklahoma over the course of about 4 decades. It is an epic, to say the least, but despite its vastness, its beautiful photography, and a great performance from Richard Ditz, much like Mrs. Miniver, this movie got to go dead bottom because it kind of pissed me off. There's one specific scene in this film that I personally think is maybe the most racist moment in movie history. A young black man who's been on the adventure with this whole time takes a bullet, saving Yancey's son, and Yancey just leaves him to die in the mud. I mean, you wouldn't treat a dog like that or a horse like that, but because he's a black kid, I guess he's beneath those things. It just really rubbed me the wrong way. The movie it wasn't even like a condemnation or criticism of the character, and the movie almost seemed to feel the exact same way, and it was really fucking racist. I do not condone censorship or banning of any kind. If you don't want to see something, don't want to see a movie, don't watch it. Don't want to read a book, don't read it. Don't spend your money on it. However, I bought Cimarron to see it for like really cheap at Walmart once, and I was mortified with it. So instead of destroying this art or protesting or all this kind of nonsense, I'm just going to take the piece of it that I own and put it off the table and make sure nobody ever sees this piece of shit again. That's what I will do. I think that's better than going to someone else's town and setting it on fire. Oh, but that might be a wholly different thing. Number 11, Cavalcade. Oh, by the way, I would have definitely voted for Skippy, comic strip film. Fun little family movie. Number 11, Cavalcade from 1933, directed by Frank Lloyd, starring Diana Wynyard, Clive Brook, Herbert Molden, and Una O'Connor. This movie also won the Oscars for director and art direction. This is the story of a rich family and a poor family during the events of, mostly around the events of tragedies and shit around the 1910s, 20s, and early 30s. Mainly, like World War I, the sinking of the Titanic, Prohibition, stuff like this, and the tragic occurrences in these two different families' lives. Other than that, I mean, it's just kind of a boring movie to me. Just, again, a melodrama about rich people and even the so-called poor people have much better clothes than any fucking poor family I ever met. But that's just 1930s movies. Poor people dressed well. Yeah, I mean, it's a harmless movie, but it's a very forgettable movie. I would have voted for The Private Life of Henry VIII, but mind you, King Kong was not nominated. Number 10, The Broadway Melody from 1929, directed by Harry Beaumont, starring Bessie Love, Anita Page, and Charles King. And here it is, a movie that won Best Picture and nothing else. No other Oscars, couple of other nominations, but just the one sole Oscar. So, sorry, Spotlight, I guess you aren't the absolute of the suck. This is basically just the story of two vaudevillian sisters who, make their try to make their go at it on Broadway, and that's it. I mean, it's a charming movie. Got some big musical numbers. It's a musical. It was one of the earlier and most successful musicals of the 1920s. Of the talkie age. Unlike the Jazz Singer, it doesn't. I mean, it has dialogue scenes. Not just. I mean, there's no dialogue cards at all in this film. It's a talkie, and it's a whatever. As far as what should have won, I didn't see any of the other nominees. I couldn't find any other movie from 1929 that I've seen, even though I'm sure they're out there. But come on, man, we're talking about movies made 82 years ago. I think I can get a pass on this 1 year. But I would definitely be open to seeing in Old Arizona, which was the movie about the Cisco Kid from that year. Anyhow, number 9, The Great Ziegfeld from 1936, directed by Robert Z. Leonard, starring William Powell, Myrna Loy, Louise Rayner, and Frank Morgan. This movie also won the Oscars for actress and dance direction, is what they called it. I guess that's just choreography. This is the story of Ziegfeld. I'm blanking on his first name. He was a very famous guy. Very big part of making Broadway what it became. It's huge during the height of its hugeness. He was a big part of it. He was a producer, and this huge, lavish, elaborate productions, musicals. This movie is just basically about his career and his failures and eventually his death. And it's just this big, epic biopic. Got really nothing else to say about it. William Powell's really good in it. Frank Morgan's terrific in it. Louise Rayner and Myrna Loy are always good as always, especially Louise Rayner. But I think Mr. Deeds Goes to Town should have easily won the Oscar this year for Best Picture. It's a far more memorable and iconic movie. Number 8, You Can't Take It With You from 1938, directed by Frank Capra, starring Jean Arthur, James Stewart, Lionel Barrymore, Ann Miller, and Edward Arnold. This movie also won the Oscar for Best Director. This is an heiress to a huge family. An heir to a huge family falls in love with the daughter of a really eccentric oddball family. It's basically like if like the Addams Family meets the Kennedys, but not to either real extreme. It's a very charming movie. If you know Frank Capra, it's a Frank Capra movie. It's very funny, lots of unique and memorable characters, and plenty of heart, and ultimately a movie about community. That's what he did. That's what he thrived on. Nevertheless, even though this is a very good movie, I still would have voted for The Adventures of Robin Hood. Just one of the most colorful and lavish movies of the era, if not ever. Number 7, The Life of Emile Zola from 1937, directed by William Dietrich, starring Paul Muni, Gail Sondergaard, Donald Crisp, and Joseph Schildkraut. This movie also won the Oscars for Supporting Actor and Original Screenplay. This is a story, The Life of Emile Zola, from coming up, kind of kicks off during his time in law school and ends with his funeral, but the movie mainly focuses on his case with Captain Dreyfus, who was wrongfully imprisoned, basically a scapegoat for the government, and how Zola was the lawyer responsible in finding this man's freedom. And a heroic story. It's a moving, intense, emotional courtroom drama with magnificent performances from Schildkraut and Muni both. And hell yeah, it's the first movie on this list I've talked about that is genuinely phenomenal. You Can't Take It With You is a really good movie too, but Zola is really good. Really something else, which means everything forward is going to be great. Nevertheless, I probably would have voted for The Good Earth. It's a I mean, yes, it's two white actors in makeup and stretched eyes look like they're Chinese. But if you can get back past that and just appreciate the film for its scope, its photography, its art direction and costumes, its character story, and yes, performances, it's kind of an unforgettable movie and more than worthy of being remade in modern times with an actual Chinese cast and in that language. I think would be worth seeing. I'd like to see that personally quite a bit. Also, real quick, The Good Earth has very similar. Lots of shots kind of were reused in 12 Years a Slave. Not reused, lots of shots in that movie reminded me of The Good Earth. Anyhow, moving on. Number 6 is Wings, the inaugural big dog from 1927, but also one for the 1928 year. This movie was directed by William Wellman, the legendary William Wellman, and stars Clara Bow, Charles Buddy Rogers, Richard Arlen, and Gary Cooper. This also won the Oscars. They also won the Oscar for engineering effects, which is basically visual effects, but not to the same kind of degree. Like far more primordial version of it. And at this time, I should also point out this year the Best Picture was called Production, and there's also this side category that was only used the one time called Best Unique and Artistic Production. Some people count that as a Best Picture category, but I say fuck that, there's only one Best Picture. So I'm not going to count that. However, the film that won that category was Murnau's, or was it Murnau Griffith? Oh shit, it was Sunrise with Janet Gaynor, and it's a better movie than Wings. Anyhow, Wings is the story of, tell me if this sounds familiar, two best friends who enlist as pilots and fall in love with the same girl. It's Pearl Harbor. Even has one guy is thought dead and gets shot down and killed later in the... I mean, Pearl Harbor just stole the story from Wings and had the audacity to call it an original screenplay. But to be fair, it's not the first movie to do such a thing, nor is it the best. Witness, which is basically a remake of Angels with Dirty Face, Angel and the Bad Man with John Wayne, won the Oscar for original screenplay, if you can believe it or not. My runner-up would have been The Racket. Even though I've seen all three Best Production nominees from the inaugural year, go fucking figure. The third movie was Seventh Heaven. Romance, love story, wartime shit. Already in the top 5. Making good time with this one. Number 5, Grand Hotel from 1932, directed by Edmund Goulding, starring Greta Garbo, John Barrymore, Wallace Beery, Joan Crawford, Lionel Barrymore. John Barrymore and Lionel Barrymore. I may have said one of those twice. And this, like Broadway Melody, only won the one Oscar. And also, this was the very first big movie to win, big Hollywood film to win Best Picture. I don't know what the hell Harry Connick Jr. is doing playing on my television. But that got skipped. Anyhow, Grand Hotel is just basically not an anthology movie, but an ensemble. Huge hotel in, I won't say Paris, but actually it might be in Hollywood. But all these people are coming in. Everybody got their own story. There's this one couple who want to run away together. There's this man who's just struck it rich. There's a dude, I think, who ran away from the law. There's this movie star who wants to retire. Wallace Beery steals the movie as the douchebag manager of the place. And, of course, as always, Lionel Barrymore gets this show-off performance because he was one to do. I don't know if I would have voted against Grand Hotel because just such a big part in Hollywood history. I kind of don't want to take that away from it. But The Champ would be my runner-up. Hell of a good movie. Also starring Wallace Beery. who won an Oscar that year, at least tied his Oscar with Frederick March for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which might be worthy of a retro review. I don't know. The Dr. Jekyll scenes of that movie are very dated and melodramatic, but fucking Mr. Hyde's the shit. Anyhow, number 4, Mutiny on the Bounty from 1935, directed by Frank Lloyd, starring Clark Gable, Charles Laughton, Donald Crisp, and Ferenc Town. And again, just won the one Oscar, but I do think it's unique that this movie is the only movie in the history of the Oscars to receive 3 acting nominees in a lead role in the same category for the same movie. You know what I mean? I mean, they've had stuff like that for, like, supporting over the years, like 3 guys from The Godfather, all nominated for supporting actor. And this was also before they split up for lead supporting, so it may not be interesting to you, but it is to me. Iconic performance from Charles Laughton, another great performance from Clark Gable, and Ferenc Town, a great performance. You know, in an era where Hollywood was really, film itself was still trying to find that transition from selling it to the back to the back seat on the stage, to being more intimate and personal with, those words kind of mean the same thing, with a camera right in front of you. And lots of actors tried to find a long time to try to make that transition, but Ferenc in this movie does not. This underneath seething intensity is a man who's not so much scared, who's just watching his surroundings and paying attention because he knows he is in a dangerous fucking situation at all times. A hell of a performance in this movie, but yeah, also the big, epic goddamn ship battles in this movie, and just, I didn't even tell you what the goddamn thing is about. The movie is the legendary, I think, 18th century mutiny of Fletcher Christian, mutiny on the Bounty, and they kicked off the Captain William Bligh, who was able to navigate a single boat with a handful of men all the way back to land. I don't know if Christian's men were ever captured, but I do know some men did hang for this mutiny. It's a true story. There's been at least 3 movies about it. This is the best one, and it is a phenomenal motion picture. Even almost 80 years, pushing 90 years old, it still has phenomenal battle sequences. And it's an visually impressive movie. However, just for what movies I've seen again and again and again and again, and have more of a sentimental thing because of what they meant to me as a kid, I'd probably have to vote for Captain Blood with Errol Flynn. Yes, 2 Errol Flynn votes. Sorry. Number 3 is All Quiet on the Western Front from 1930, directed by Louis Milestone and starring Lew Ayres. Who gives a shit out? Who cares who else? Because all you need is Lew Ayres, because Lew Ayres is fucking great. This is a story of we follow Lou as a German schoolboy goes right from graduation straight to volunteering into war, and just spends the whole 4 years of World War II watching his friends get mutilated, butchered, murdered, go insane, and it is just about the futility, the madness, and the barbarism of war. I saw this in school as a teenager for the first time, and it had a profound impact on me, and it is the building block, the blueprint, the foundation on how to make a battle film. It is phenomenal. It is a masterpiece. It is one of cinema's greatest achievements. See All Quiet on the Western Front if you never have. Take a toast to it, in fact. Runner-up would be Disraeli, starring George Arliss. Number 2, It Happened One Night from 1934, directed by Frank Capra, starring Clark Gable, Claudette Colbert, Walter Connolly, Alan Hale, and Ward Bond. This movie also won the Oscars for director, actor, actress, and screenplay. Was the first of only three films to win, the royal flush of the Oscars. The King, the Queen, the Jack, the Ace, and the 10. I would probably say the director's just the 10. You don't want to hurt his feelings, but the director's the Jack. The script is the 10. Pictures, yes. What the fuck am I talking about? Anyhow, it is a romantic comedy. Another one of those comedies that never won Best Picture. It's a romantic comedy. Clark Gable is he's a journalist, but he's kind of just lost his job and going on a what the fuck do I do now bender. And she is a rich girl, for lack of a better word, running away from home. And I didn't know that was Nat King Cole when we skipped it. And she's a rich girl pretty much running away to go be with her boyfriend so they can run off and get married. They both take the same bus, they break down, and since he kind of sees this as the story to get him back on track, he's going to help her get back to New York to her fiance. It sounds so cliche because God knows how many times this film has been ripped off in the near century since it was made. It's incredibly charming, very funny. If you've never seen or even heard of it again, just go watch a trailer. You'll be shocked at how many things instantly trigger a memory of something you've seen either referenced, that was stolen from this, or was a reference to this movie. It's an iconic movie. There's people who even say Bugs Bunny was a reference to Clark Gable's performance in this movie, based on a scene where he's gnawing on a carrot. I don't know if that's true, but it would be fun. But it's kind of one of those things that is so cool. Let it be true. Just hope it's true. Like I said, terrific movie, wondrous movie, and I couldn't recommend it more. In fact, I might watch it next chance I fucking get. Tell you the truth. Runner up, The Thin Man. And finally, my number one, my final Best Picture winner to talk about, Gone with the Wind, 1939. Directed by Victor Fleming, starring Vivien Leigh, Clark Gable, Leslie Howard, Olivia de Havilland, Thomas Mitchell, George Reeves, Ward Bond, Jane Darwell, and Hattie McDaniel. This movie also won the Oscars for Director, Actress, Supporting Actress, Screenplay, Cinematography, Art Direction, and Film Editing. I mean, it's Gone with the Wind. You've heard about it. This is a story about rich people, rich Southerners during the Civil War who lose everything from the war. Many of them even their lives. And it's basically about the destruction of the old South and the effect it had on people. Now, I'm not gonna fucking support slavery, but this movie is about the destruction of people's lives. And destroy somebody, is it really ever anything to celebrate? And it's a profound film. It's an epic film. It's a visually beautiful film featuring one of the greatest performances of all time and playing the greatest character in movie history. Vivien Leigh is Scarlett O'Hara. The first black actor to not only be nominated, but instantly fucking won, Hattie McDaniel for Best Supporting Actress. As much as George Clooney likes to pat himself on the back, many decades later about, hey, we gave Hattie McDaniel an Oscar, yeah, and you also made her leave through the fucking kitchen too, didn't you fucking schmuck. Anyhow, it's an amazing movie. It's an epic movie. It is a true masterpiece and a one-of-a-kind film, and I would even argue it's the most movie ever made. You can only compare it with all the scope and all the bigness and all the massiveness put on the screen. Nothing has ever really touched it, at least not in my lifetime. It is the biggest movie ever made. At least movies that even come close to it, they have to have 7 or 8 movies building into this one big movie these days because they don't know how to make big fucking movies. And I also want to point out that no matter, The Avengers, Avatar, Titanic, these movies made lots and lots and lots of money. But this film came out in a time where the average movie ticket was roughly a dime. So it made $400 million in 1939 worldwide, which I looked up, estimated today for inflation is $3.4 billion. So nothing will ever be the worldwide cinematic phenomenon that Gone with the Wind is. And if not for that reason alone, It deserves your respect. Anyhow, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hope y'all watched all of this shit. I don't know what else to say. I'm done. It'll probably take hours, 4 fucking hours to watch this whole fucking thing if you wanted to fucking binge watch it, but don't do that. But if you, just because I don't want to look at me for 4 hours. Anyhow, I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.